This interview is brought to you by Verizon. When the Navy and the Marine Corps look to securely and effectively modernize their network and voice communications in the continental United States or outside the contiguous United States, Verizon's suite of services, solutions, and contract vehicles are there to help meet mission needs. Hi, I'm Amy Kluber, Editor-in-Chief at GovCIO Media Research, and I'm sitting down here with Ben Needles, who's CTO of J2 at Indopacom. Great to have you, Ben. Nice to be here in Hawaii.
Aloha.
Aloha. How are you seeing Indopacom adapting to the evolving threat landscape? I know there's a lot of change happening there. What does that mean for you and for J2 specifically, and what are some of your priorities?
So a big part of what we've been focused on is integration. So, one of the big things you see with government capability is, of course, you've got all these different stovepipes of excellence, right, that have developed over time through all these different programs. And so one of the challenges that we run into is how do we bring all of that together? As much as most of the vendors here would love to be able to just be the solution, that's never going to be what happens for us. And so a lot of what we focus on in my office is how can we take the different bits and pieces of the capabilities that are out there and in a short term, it's baling twine and duct tape, pull them together, and in a longer term, build out organic, integrated, and interoperable capabilities that allow us to service the battle space, meet the mission requirements that we have, and then provide decision advantage to the commander so that he can execute the taskings as he gets.
Absolutely. I know the technology posture for a mission for J2, where you're processing a lot of data and all the work that goes into the intelligence analysis is important for that mission. How are you looking at emerging technology like AI or other infrastructure tools to support that?
Yeah, AI is a real fun one for us for a couple reasons. For one, we're unique in the sense that a lot of the data that we work with oftentimes can come from a very bespoke source. And so we run into challenges for how do we structure and standardize the data. But what I like to do is bifurcate, if you will, the data from the knowledge. And so, data it's how I'm moving knowledge from point A to point B. And so whether that's satellite communications, fiber optics, a Post-it note, it's how I'm moving information around. So a big part of what we've been focused on is how do we do knowledge and data standardization. And through that standardization, it allows us to condition the data in such a way that I think it makes it a lot easier for us to be able to take advantage of AI technology in the future. Now, one of the big challenges that we have is AI, the big hindrance to AI is compute cost. And so when you look at some of the examples for some of the large language models that have been developed, I won't name it, but it costs $9 million a day for 60 days to develop. That's just not something that we're going to be able to afford to do. But through the data standardization, through knowledge standardization, our hope is that we're going to be able to condition that data in such a way that we're going to be able to take the existing large language models as they get produced by industry and then lift them into our secure domains to then quickly train on the exquisite data holdings that we have so that we can take advantage of it. One of the other challenges I think that we have when it comes to AI is, everybody talks about generative AI, like, hey, how do I provide a prompt and then this is going to give me some magical answer? That's not how it works for us. We have intelligence community directives that we use that set standards for how we do analytics and where we have to abide by certain rules in tradecraft. And so for us, when we're looking at AI, I think it's more of the extractive AI. Like, we have so much data that we're processing. How can we leverage AI to help us parse through the information quickly, be able to pull out the critical nuggets, identify patterns that maybe we wouldn't necessarily see from an analyst. But right now, I think it's going to be pretty hard for us to think about AI as somehow going to replace an analyst to provide information to a commander. It's going to be an enabling capability that we're going to take advantage of.
It's a lot to think about when you are talking about that in the context of national security and all the landscape of both in the region with all the people that you're dealing with, the allies and the partnerships, partner environment. it's a lot to really bring in an AI capability safely and make sure the data is secure.
Again, it's a double-edged sword in the sense that, one of the challenges that we run into with our partners is, one, how do we make sure that the capabilities that they have are integrated and interoperable with what we're using? And then how do we take advantage of AI in such a way that it allows us to secure the holdings that we have, but quickly in a machine-to-machine fashion, deliver the information to them so that they have decision advantage as well. One of the critical differences between us and some of our peer adversaries is that we operate in coalitions. And so allies and partners are critically important for us. We are constantly engaged with the Five Eye community, obviously, but non-traditional partners, we don't go to war alone. And so the advantage that provides us is that we typically have I don't want to say moral authority, but we've got a coalition of folks who understand that what they're dealing with is the right thing. The challenge that we run into is that you're going to have uneven capabilities across all of those allies and partners. And so how are we able to leverage technology to even that playing field where we can, while providing the security that we need, becomes a really critical piece.
There's a lot of directives out there and policies that are coming down from whether it's the Pentagon or even higher than that. How are you dealing with some of those policies and really merging all those together to really make it work for you?
That is hard. I would say, when we sit back and we think about the capability developments that we're trying to do, especially when it comes with our allies and partners, but in general, oftentimes technology is the easy part, right? The issues that we run into are policy, it's guidance, it's how are we updating the instructions, the manuals, how are we processing antiquated appreciations of what the risk aspect is for how we're sharing and handling information. So policy for us it's a bit of a bugaboo, because it's how do you get the policy community to move at the pace with the sense of urgency that we have from a technological perspective. We like to think that we're kind of in the line of fire out here when it comes to how we deal with this theater and the threats that come from it. And sometimes we don't feel like everybody's got the same sense of urgency. I think that there is certainly a growing appreciation for the nature of the beast that we're going to have to deal with. But I think the most critical piece for us is getting policymakers to recognize that it's a piece of paper, right? That's the lift, and getting them to go through, make the policy pieces that we need, those changes, so that we can execute faster, and then we can test things quickly, because we have to test policy too. And everybody, again, we test and experiment with capability and technology. Well, we need to be testing and experimenting with policy as well. Make sure that we identify, hey, we didn't recognize this risk, or this isn't necessarily addressing the things that we're trying to do. I think that's probably another piece where we can leverage AI more, is using that capability to go through, examine policies, and then identify where they think there's conflicts between there's a lot of paperwork in the government. Going across all of those, identifying conflicts, identifying gaps, and then helping us organize and quickly sort as necessary.
And it's critical, especially when you're thinking, again, about national security. It's kind of important to make it as easy as possible for analysts to do their jobs and the warfighter to do their job.
I mean, the thing that I would foot stomp is that it becomes a life and death scenario for us, right? If we don't have the policy in place that's enabling the capability and the technology, that's enabling decision advantage and then partner engagement, it will cost lives in conflict.
Well, very well said. Ben, this was a great look at what some of your priorities are and some of the things that are happening in this region. So thank you so much.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much for having me.